cleaved 8 inches of snow in 10-degree weather. It was a tremendous mesiras nefesh to leave my tzibur under those conditions. And it's, right now the temperature is 52 degrees here, which is 25 for dyslexics, so it's mamish terrible. Friends of mine, the Gemara says, "Hakovi de Shemaya Chutz V'Sin L'Pachim." More in the third parak, Elunaris and Zuvos. So everything's in the hands of heavens except for the heat and the cold. Tosfos asked the question, what are you talking about? Shemayim, Chutz V'Yirah Shemayim. Right? Obviously contradicted. So my friend in the Leil in Detroit, Rabbi, says that Zayda had an enfer for the stira. He says, Yirah Shemayim, heat and cold. There's a mensch hata b'chi dem leben. A person has a choice in life to be either a vamer chosid or a kaltalifa. It all contains together. So I want to speak about, there was given the topic of Shovavim, the 6 parshios. The Arizal tells us that within the Shovavim, Shmos, Vayera, Bo, Bishalach, Yisro, Mishpatim, Truma, Tetzaveh. In the 6 parshios of Shovavim, wait a second. So Bnei Yisrael says not Shovavim Tat, but Shovavim Tat. Don't stop at 6, they're 8. So whether it's 6, the Arizal, the Bnei Yisrael, they're 8. These parshios speak to us in a very unique way. And I'd like to use mamish just a few minutes. This could be a longer presentation, but it won't be because we have to daven Malav. But I'd like to point out, I think I once actually pointed this out years ago here. In this week's parsha, last week was Shmos, so we have to get that in. A great deal of time and effort is put into last week's parsha of a debate that takes place at the snat, the burning bush. A ganze Woche, 1 week, Moshe Rabbeinu is listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, yeah, but don't send me. Yeah, but don't send me. Shalach tishlach, but just not me. Right? Good idea, just don't send me. Which is Pillei Ployim. It's a Moshe. This is Moshe Rabbeinu. Anybody born with the last name Rabbeinu, is there for Galus. Something's going on. What is this? What's going on? And it's very interesting language that when Hashem gets angry at Moshe, and he tells him, okay, we'll send Aaron with you, and he says, Leil. You will be to him as the ruler, the Leil. Now, you and I know that 99.9% of the time, with a margin of error of 0.7, most of the time in the Torah, it's Elokim, not Elohim. Ad Elohim Yavod Devar Shneim, by the judges, and we have to give a whole drasha why they're like standing for the judges for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Kol Mishanas Halachas, like Avodah Zarah, etc. We understand it, but the use of the term Elohim to mean like the boss, we don't normally have. This week's parsha is Pillei Ployim. I wish you all had a chumash in front of you, but just listen to this. So right before Sheni, Parshas Ve'era, so you got Shmos, Shovavim, got Shmos Ve'era. So by Deber Shomosh Lemor, Deber Bo al Paro Melech Mitzrayim, Hashem speaks to Moshe, you go to Paro, Shalach Bnei Yisrael Me'at. So send up Bnei Yisrael, page 320 here. By Deber Moshe Lefnei Hashem Lemor, Hey Bnei Yisrael Hashem Ve'ela. Hey, look, the Jews didn't listen to me. Is that true? They did, and then Paro made it worse. But initially, they were makabel. They got excited, they bowed down, they got all excited. They danced. The and again, the same taina, I'm aroused for sight. I don't speak well. I'm not a good communicator. Hashem already told them, Misam Chalij. We went through that bullshit. Right? That was just a few months ago. Remember we had the conversation. What's going on here? And then, Pilei Ployim, Eila Rosha Beis Avosam. You go through the Mishpachos, leading till you get to the lineage, the heritage of Moshe and Aaron. And we go through all of that. Page 322, if you're looking at Chumash, right before Shlishi. Listen to this pasuk. So you went through all of that. Hey, Mamedabim El Paro Melech Mitzrayim Lahosei Esprei Somi Mitzrayim Moshe v'Aaron. Those are Moshe and Aaron. They were the ones who are speaking, and now you know their lineage. What's the shot in the next pasuk? Vayehi biyom diber Hashem al Moshe be'eretz Mitzrayim, and it was on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe be'eretz Mitzrayim. Space, samich, but in the Torah there's a space. Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe leimer ani Hashem. Hashem's been talking the whole time, and Hashem says to Moshe, ani Hashem. You, Daber Paro Melech Mitzrayim, is called Asher Nidaber Alecha. You speak to power everything I just told you. Again, this repetition of theme. So maybe you'd think Vayehi b'yom diber Hashem is just going back to what was discussed previously. You look, give a cook at Rashi. Rashi says that pasuk, and then the space is relevant to what's after the space, not before the space. So when you have to read it, Vayehi b'yom, and it was on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe in the land of Egypt, space, and Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Ani Hashem. What does it mean? What's the pshat? Vayehi b'yom diber Hashem. What's the pshat in the pasuk? It's not on what's before Rashi, it's on what follows. What does it mean? Why is there a space? What is the pasuk add? And then what happens is again, Moshe refuses. So he says, Vayomer Hashem Moshe Misecha Elohim LeFaro. Okay, I'll make you the Elohim to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh will be Nevi'acho. Again, this term is repeated, and it should stand out. It's so unusual. What exactly is going on? The answer to that question is the answer of Shovavim. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu? Why is he arguing with Kudsha Brichu to take out Bnei Yisrael? Because Moshe knew, not as we learned as children, that Moshe had so much respect for his brother, and he went, okay, that could last for the first 10 minutes of conversation. Right? Hashem told him, Aaron's going to be really happy to see you, it's Gvaldik, don't worry, it's not going to affect your Shalom Bayis. By the way, where were you for the last 60 years? But okay, it's Nishta Kasha. It wasn't because of the family ties. Aaron and Moshe come from two different directions. Aaron is Oiv Shalom v'Roidei Shalom. Aaron represents the Mid of Rachamim, of pure mercy. The Koyach of the Peh. Aaron was the Kohen Gadol, the Peh, to Mevakesh Rachamim, Kapora, and Bnei Yisrael. What's Moshe? Yikov Adin Esach. Justice pierces the mountain. He represents the Midas Hadin. There are two names for Kudsha Brichu, each one representing these two opposite themes. Even though we know it's Hashem Elokeinu, it's one theme, but it looked at different vantages. Yud Kei Vav Kei represents the aspect of Kudsha Brichu, the Midas Harach. Elokim is what? Midas Hadin. Midas Hadin. Moshe Rabbeinu was saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Gula Vetzayin, but not through Din. Klal Yisrael needs Rachamim. Din will wipe us out. I know, I've been there, I know who they are, I know their weaknesses. The Midah has to be Midas HaRachamim for the Gula. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He doesn't disagree. He's okay, well, we would start if you and Aaron. That was in Shmais. You be the Elohim, representing Midas Hadin, and Aaron Achicha will be Nevi'acho, the Koach of the Novi, the Koach of the Peh, Koach of Midas Harach. Vayehi biyom diber Hashem el Moshe be'eretz Mitzrayim space. What's the space? What's in the space? Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you don't need Aaron. Ani Hashem. Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe. Ani Hashem. I will represent the midah of Rachamim. You represent the midah din, and we'll go zusammen. We'll have this partnership with Kudsha Brichu and Moshe. You join me. You be with me. You come with me. And together we can do anything. I want you to be part of this. Moshe's Anu Mikol Adam, at that point, he didn't realize that man could speak to God like this. Aponim el ponim. That there could be such a partnership. And then Hashem says, okay, then we'll go back to the way we just did it. You'll be mitzaref with Aaron. He'll be the Elohim, the aspect representing Midas Adin, and Aaron will be Nevi'achos. This is Shovavim. Shovavim is up to the Arizal, the Heilig Ari. When we go through these parshiyas, the parshiyas HaGeula, the book of Exodus, the purpose is to create a tikkun habris, a tikkun of Yesod. The Yesod represents, in the Spheros, in Kabbalistic thought, the Yesod represents the basic desire of a human being, which in any other world would be animalistic. But when it becomes the Yesod, the etchim of the side of a person is the Yud, that represents Kudsha Brichu, the Spheros. If that's Yesod, then that's the essence that turns the animal into that which is Kadosh. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, if you join me, and yeah, Taki, you could have a challenge, you could have beer while you're doing Shovavim, you don't have to hold it with tinus and this and that. You can put it all zusammen, but we have to do this together. We do this as one. And that B'yetzam, if you get all the way, again, it's a very truncated conversation because of time, but Shmos, the Erev Bo, B'Shalach, you get to Yisro, you get to Mishpatim. Yisro is the opportunity to have in Kabbalah Satira that man and God, we can mamish hear Hashem directly. We stopped after 2 dibros, we were overwhelmed, but we can hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly. And at the end of Mishpatim, there's a Peletic thought. It says, and it's very unusual for the Torah to speak like this, Vayiru es Elokei Yisrael v'sachas ra'aglav k'masei livnas hasapir. So the God of Israel, and underneath his feet was like the action of the livnas hasapir, a brick of sapphire. Okay, etzem hashemayim l'toar, and like the essence of heaven in its purity. Obviously a very unusual, mystical description. I'd like to make a quick suggestion. This pasuk one could spend a lifetime trying to figure out. Rashi says the livnas levanim, remember the bricks. What was in the bricks? Literally our blood, our children, destruction, being overwhelmed, our persecution, taking away any sense of humanity from us. That's the livnas hasapir. And they sought to destroy us. They sought to break us. They sought to defeat us. And it's b'chol davador om d'malei l'chalosenu. In every generation, they want to make us the bad guys. They Euro asam hamitzvim. Wasn't they just made us bad? They told everybody that we're genocidists and we're colonialists and we're the oppressors. And the b'chol is mamish every generation. Not just to destroy us, but try to uproot the essence of the godless of Klal Yisrael. The essence of who we are. So Bnei Yissaschar says that there are times that a person has a wound, you just have a bandage. That's the Shovavim. But Shovavim tat, if you have to reset the bone, you have to build something. You have to have the Mishkan, and that's Truman Tetzaveh. And it's lamala min ateva that after being broken, after being ridiculed, after being hated, and we're hated like no other people on the face of the planet, where the greatest nisim it flows, is how much they hate us. I don't know about you, some of my best friends are Jewish. We're an Am of Rachamim. That's the Livnas HaSapir. The word sapir, sapphire, there's an interplay constantly between the six, between the Vav and the Yud. It goes up and down. Vav is the chibur to this world. Yud is when it's coming in the spheros of Lamala, the upper world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks the Livnas HaSipur. He looks at the stories that we create every day in our lives when we refuse to be broken. When we have a Shovavim, which is not enough to just get out of Egypt, but Tikkun HaBris is getting Egypt out of us, getting the tumor that surrounds us, and breaking through those bricks with the story of our Kedusha, of the Tikkun HaBris, of being able to reach into ourselves and know, if I open up my heart, what's in that space? Who comes into that space? Kuchabrichu, and says, I want to come with you. I want to be your partner. No matter what you're facing in your life, every single one of us. I have many, many stories, but not enough time even for one. But I don't need to tell you stories, because every single one of us have our own story of how we have to break through the tumor, have to break through the junk, the stuff. And when we do that, that's a sipur, that's a story. And Hashem puts that into his bricks, and that sipur becomes elevated to Shemayim, and the sipur comes Livnas HaSapir, that's underneath the feet of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Shovavim, 6 parshios. The Shovavim Tat, Shuma and Tetzaveh, that allows us to build a mikdash. I'll end with one thought. 5 seconds left, I'm not going to make it, but just one thought. Gemara, we just said, those of us who are doing the Daf Yomi, so the Gemara talks about the ephod. And the ephod, the Gemara in Zvachim Peches. Ephod is mechaper for shvichas dami. The ephod is the long tunic shirt of the Kohen. And it's mechaper, the Miri says, because if you stab somebody, it's going to get blood all over you. But it's going to get blood over everything. And in the Bronx, we hit people over the head. We didn't do so much stabbing. Different Mekomos have different minhagim. I'd like to suggest the ephod is the Ksonis Tashbeitz. Ksonis Tashbeitz is a plaid. There are these forms, these Ksonis Tashbeitz. Tashbeitz means that there are all of these ingots, all of these frames that are filled with gems, filled with diamonds, filled with beautiful things. Just like on the corner of the shoulders, Tashbeitz means it's a setting that needs to be filled. And the garment is filled with all these settings. When a person is murdered, lo aleinu, they can't take away your past. They can't take away your present. It's your future. Every single one of us are wearing these tunics that are filled with every maruv, with every shacharis, with every mincha, but even more, the livnas hasapi, with every struggle, with every challenge, and pushing ourselves in this man of Shovavim Tat to rebuild the Mishkan, to rebuild the Makom of Teva, which Baruch Hashem here is a tremendous Makom Teva, and rebuild ourselves. And we do that, those are 8 weeks. 8, like the Chanukah Chag that we just had, is L'mala min HaTeva. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that Sipur, that Shovavim, I'm putting it into my bricks as a sapir. It goes straight to Shemayim, and Kaviyachol, the feet of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, stands upon our victories.